I find Oscar Piastri boring.
Meathead, can you use that word anymore?
You were doing a bit of shadowing of Verstappen.
Didn't see that coming, did you?
Hello, welcome to the Inside Track, the podcast that takes you behind the scenes of Formula One through our exclusive access to Red Bull Racing. I'm Rick Edwards, journalist, broadcaster, Formula One fan.
And I'm sports journalist Matt Majendie. Each week we bring you the latest gossip, the latest news, and we find out who's thriving and which drivers are under pressure.
So the first thing to say, I think, is that we have escaped the studio. So the signature black velvet cloth that I know you all love so much, that has been burned. The mugs are in a local charity shop, so good luck to anyone who finds them. And the chairs have actually been sent to an old people's home, so you get yourself comfy, Grandad. It was quite a Grand Prix. Yep. So we're going to look back on everything that happened there. So Lando Norris's oil leak nightmare, Max Verstappen's home podium finish, good for him to be back on the podium. Isack Hadjar's first ever podium, slightly gifted to him, but still. Ferrari's horror show on turn 3, and then just a load of other controversial incidents and penalty decisions. Also want to talk to you about your time. You spent a bit of time shadowing Max around Zandvoort, which I imagine was quite crazy. And as I said, quite crazy there. I think I sounded about 80. We discussed. We'll also discuss Cadillac's new drivers for 2026, Valtteri Bottas and Sergio Perez. As always, if you want to watch this episode, RIP the studio, or get the latest video content from Race Day, subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's the Inside Track podcast. I think we have to start with Lando Norris, and I am gutted for him, but also for me, because it was shaping up to be such a great title race, and now I just think that it's going to be really hard for him to claw this back. And the fact that it's nothing to do with him, not his fault, just makes it all the more heartbreaking, doesn't it?
It was. You just saw that puff of smoke come out the back of the car. My heart absolutely sank. You're like, no. But you knew in that instance it was done. And suddenly, he was going to walk away from the race with a 16-point disadvantage in the championship, which is not terrible. He's stared down that before. To suddenly it's now 34. That is a lot. That is, I know we've still got 9 races left and it's not done and dusted, but he now needs a bit of Piastri misfortune. Yet that hasn't happened to either driver. It's the first time this has happened, anything like that. And something like that has to happen to Piastri. And as we've talked about before, he's rarely put a foot wrong or had too much adversity. It was terrible. And you saw on the McLaren pit wall as well, their hearts sank because they want this to be a fair fight. Don't want it to be decided by mechanical issues with the car.
Lando now says he's going to go for it, but I sort of feel like he was going for it already. I don't really know what that means. That feels like the kind of thing you just say to yourself to try and make yourself feel a bit better.
That's exactly it. That's literally he's picking himself up live in that press conference bit afterwards, chatting to the media, and that was just, he needed to give himself that lift. But he'll be gutted, absolutely gutted, because maybe he should have run that weekend the way he dominated the whole way through the practice sessions. Didn't quite work out, but to come away with, he would have come away with second place and now come away with nothing at all from that is hard. But I mean, he'll talk a good game in Monza. He'll be going for the win, but yeah, there's a fair few points to make up.
Not for the first time on this podcast. I'm going to age myself considerably by saying that I find Oscar Piastri boring in the way that I found Steve Davis boring in the 80s. Because I understand that both Davis and Piastri are excellent at their chosen discipline, but they're just sort of metronomic, and there's no there's no personality to get hold of particularly. It's just very sort of calm and considered. It's just a bit dull, isn't it?
See, if you see him closer,
I'm never going to see him closer, Matt. You know that.
No, you want a bit more edge for him, but actually, he's a hugely likable guy, and it's interesting if you talk to, my kids, for example, they adore him. They love him. They love Lando as well. He really appeals to that younger generation. To you and I, he perhaps doesn't have enough of a character, but actually behind the scenes, he is quite a good character and good fun. But he is so focused as the racer. So a bit like Steve Davis says, that blinkered elite sportsman, that's all he's doing. Job done, eyes down, visor down, etc. You want your sports stars to have faults, to be fallible, to be human,
Yeah.
and you see that very much with Lando. You see that a lot less with Oscar. So I entirely agree with what you're saying. Yeah, you want that emotion. Whether with Oscar, if he goes on to win that title, whether he does, we do see that. Whether we see a change, I don't know.
But it's either that or having an edge, like when you're driving. Like nasty is not quite the right word, but Verstappen, like he is not boring because he's spicy, and Oscar's not really spicy. He just sort of gets it done.
Well, what he's done though, different to other drivers, is he's shown with like Verstappen, for example, that he won't give. So other drivers sort of feel that Verstappen fear or that pressure. He doesn't do that, and I like that. So there is a spiciness and edginess to him in his driving. Maybe not in the way he talks after and outside of the car.
Right. So you were doing a bit of shadowing of Verstappen at his home Grand Prix. What was that like?
So it was more just to sort of observe what it was like because I was curious on day one. He suddenly rocks up at the energy station. So we talked about this. This is a hospitality suite for both Racing Bulls and Red Bull for the entirety of the weekend. All the team are there. Everyone eats there. They drivers do interviews, etc. So he turns up there with three. I don't know, meathead. Can you use that word anymore?
Yeah.
But anyway, three absolute sort of brutes with him.
Units.
And I'm like, what the hell's that? So, despite my curiosity, it turns out it's his bodyguards. Now, normally at a race, he doesn't need it. It's fine. But yeah, big lump, absolute big units. He has these three bodyguards to sort of help him around. It happens when he goes away on holiday and things like that, for example, to ensure his and his family's security. He's a superstar, so he gets mobbed. But his home race, they don't need it. At other races, but his home race, there's such attention. I was chatting to his dad, Jos, during the weekend, and he arrived with his son, and he says it's just mad. It's just mad to see his son, this superstar, being totally mobbed, like to a different degree. Like they are crazy, the Dutch fans, and I mean that very, very complimentary fashion.
Yeah.
They have such passion for him, and every time he did anything, if he tried to come out in the motorhome, tried to get on a buggy, because it was like a split paddock this time. So you had the paddock where the hospitality was and the paddock where the garage was. So he had to go a reasonable distance. You try and walk that, Max Verstappen in the Netherlands, that's not going to work very well for you. So just really interesting to see that level of adulation and attention. And they go mad for him. Every time he raised his hand, you could actually hear like a wave of noise around you, surrounding you, coming down on top of you, which was great. But he's so cool with it and just so relaxed and such a normal guy with it, which I loved seeing. And I thought he had a brilliant weekend. For under all that pressure, which
really
you wouldn't.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you had asked at the start of the weekend any member of that team if they would have taken P2 at the end of the weekend, they would have absolutely jumped at that because they were terrible on Friday. There was oversteer, there was understeer, going into the quarter, mid quarter, all these issues, couldn't get the balance right, the grip wasn't right. You're thinking, and I chatted to Jos at that point, and he was saying, you're guessing P5 in qualifying, but obviously that didn't happen. Max did a good lap and was the best of the rest compared to McLaren's. But to come away with second place, I know fortuitous with what happened to Lando, is a great achievement, particularly as we know they've not had great races preceding that point.
On the three big lumps, realistically, how many of them do you think you could have taken down on your own?
I've shaken hands with one of them, and I still feel the memory of my hand being indented. I would last maybe 3 to 4 seconds.
That's not bad.
Maybe I'll give it a go at the next race.
Yeah. I suspect that the guy whose hand you shook is probably also saying, I can feel the memory of Majendie.
The weakness
coursing through him.
Such lovely soft skin, though.
Yeah, the hands of a man who has never worked. So on Verstappen's race, then, as you say, I think he'll be delighted. That soft tyre strategy really worked. I guess you would maybe say, if you're nitpicking, could he have held on second place for a bit longer? But I don't know if that's fair.
No, I think they knew that realistically the best they could do was finish 20 odd seconds behind the McLarens. They were so superior. So why the hell not throw the dice? The problem is those softs he went out on. they didn't last very long. So it was quite hard to hold on to position. And you saw when Lando got past how quickly he disappeared into the distance. It was a nice, bold strategy. That's what they got to do. They've just got to take risks. It was Hannah Schmitz this weekend who was calling the shots in that regard. And she's talked about, Will Courtney's talked about it, that when you're in that position, you've got to roll the dice, because they balance the idea that, okay, maybe they won't get the jump on them or whatever, but they had probably superior pace to the others behind them, that it was worth that risk. And I don't know, they made for entertainment at the start, because it would have been so boring if immediately both of those two orange cars had disappeared into the distance.
Just shot off.
And he gave something for the fans. And you again talk about that roar, the noise you heard that went up as well when he gets past is brilliant. And every single seat had a Dutch flag. So they had it layered in the flag, so you could see it in the morning when I arrived early, before people were in their seats. You could see the flag, and seeing all those things waving, the colour and everything, that was fabulous.
They are good fans. Right, let's talk about some of the other activity in the race, and there was plenty. Ferrari, bend 3, corner 3. It is. It can't be unprecedented, but it feels statistically unlikely that both of your drivers would go out of the same place.
Did you see Charles Leclerc sitting on the grassy knoll? I think I have a soft spot for almost everyone probably, but also for him. But the Lando feeling was the same with Charles, and he was so gracious about it, that they're coming together with Antonelli, and I don't know, made me like him even more. But it was just unfortunate, wasn't it? So unfortunate. It was a terrible, terrible race for them.
Yeah, really, really bad. Did you notice that? So he's sitting there alone with his thoughts on the grassy knoll for quite some time. At some point, he gets a phone. How?
I have no idea.
Like I then immediately thought, are all the drivers? Have they all got their phones on them?
I was like, has he just pulled that out of his racing overalls? But has he just pulled that out of his racing overalls? I was like, what the hell? Yeah, I should probably find that out, but that was curious.
And then Lewis Hamilton, not only going out, but also a 5-place grid penalty for speeding in the pit lane. He's having a terrible time.
It was interesting going, because I went to Ferrari. It's quite interesting to try and gauge the other teams, other drivers, and assess what's going on. So I went to hear him talk on his media day, and he was talking about getting the fun back. And you really believe that. He wanted to get enjoyment back. And he went into the weekend like that. But wow, that fun
got sucked out pretty quickly.
Going out like that. Well, it got sucked out on Friday on practice, because he ended up just spinning round and then going out the race like that, and then just like another sucker blow. Oh, and by the way, your next race is scuppered because you're going to be 5 places back. That was a tough time, but I hope he keeps positivity. He's going into Monza. It is an enormous, enormous weekend for the team. For him, it's his first Italian Grand Prix in the Ferrari colours, so we'll see.
Isack Hadjar on the podium for the first time. He's having such a good season, and I mean, I don't even need to ask you, because you know what I'm going to ask. Red Bull are looking at that guy and thinking, well, come on.
So if you were to, let's take the Yuki situation, much better weekend, ended up in the points, great. You would think that's a positive step. Pace was looking pretty good, so that's a positive step. But unfortunately, then if the rival for your seat in another car then finishes third, that's tough. And Helmut Marko, who's a key decision maker at Red Bull, talked very, very positively about Hadjar. I mean, his stock is already high. It's even higher after that. I shared a moment with the Hadjar family. We both got locked out, myself and Isack Hadjar's dad, from the paddock. Neither our passes worked at the same time. But he said, I'm Isack Hadjar's dad, and they let him in. And I said, the Inside Track podcast? Turns out I had to wait a bit longer, but there we go. It's worth a try.
You spoke to Yuki, didn't you?
Yes, I did indeed. Yeah, as you know, I'm a big fan, and he's always gracious with the time. Really good. The bizarre bit about that interview, it took quite a turn at the start, in that most of the time he decided to talk about Jason Statham. Didn't see that coming, did you?
I mean, a chat about Jason Statham. What's his favourite Statham film?
So basically, Jason Statham is his idol, like he's his hero. He loves action movies.
Fantastic.
He didn't specify which film, but bumped into him while he was on holiday in Greece. Well, I say holiday, he was doing a training camp, and Statham was there, and we talked about how you should never meet your heroes. But in that case, he absolutely loves him. And then he goes on to talk about how he'd like to be in his own action movie, and he'd like to be in the next Fast and Furious franchise. Well, anyway, that was an unexpected part of the interview. Yeah, so it was just interesting to talk to Yuki about how he has an awareness of the job is under pressure, and he knows what he needs to do to get the job done. He's come back very focused, very driven. I think he was very refreshed. The other thing he talked about a lot was food. I went away and had lots of food in my family. But in terms of the Formula One side of things, just knowing what he needs to do, what he has to address to raise his game for the rest of the season, which I think he did do at the weekend. Just unfortunately for him, Isack Hadjar did it a little better. But here's a little clip from Yuki talking now.
Well, I mean, I'm score points as much as possible and be closest with Max, which I think at least for one lap pace, I'm able to kind of achieve last 2 races before summer break after I got upgrades, which is good. So I'll keep doing that, and also same time score points. And I think still, this is a quite crucial moment for me as well. So but at the same time, keep doing what I'm doing. Extra focus probably.
And the other thing, and I guess there's no great surprise saying that he talked about, how much he wants to stay at Red Bull. That's the seat he's fighting for, and he knows he's up against a battle to do so.
That's what my priority is, to stay Red Bull as much as possible, and this is a team that what I want to race for, and so to get that, obviously I need to show my performance. So I'll have to do that.
So there's a couple of moments of controversy. Firstly, around Charles Leclerc. What did you make of that overtake?
Yeah, I think that was not right. I think he was hard done by to be. Yeah, I mean, I think that was the exuberance of youth. Can we say that?
But he took it quite well on the whole. I think he looked like he was taking it well on his hill.
Well, yeah, as he was texting his friends and signing up on his WhatsApp groups, checking up with everyone. But I mean, it was just one of those things, isn't it? These elite drivers, if they get driven into by Antonelli, they're quite gracious. We saw it with Max Verstappen, and then I mean, Charles. Not much he could do about it. He's hoping he's got rid of all of his bad luck before Monza, and things go well from him at Monza at home.
And then Carlos Sainz got a 10-second penalty that he said was the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life. And it's not the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life, but I take his point, actually.
I honestly, I keep on watching that back. I've read about it. I just don't understand it. So what, the way you see Lawson looks in his mirrors and then turns across. So you could argue Lawson has done that and created the crash. But where he is on the track, it's his racing position. So the only person who could have or should perhaps have got a penalty was Lawson in that situation. There is absolutely nothing wrong. Sainz has done absolutely nothing wrong. And he immediately went on the race radio and said, this guy, furious, actually probably wouldn't have penalised either, like it was, Lawson's doing, but racing incident, etc. But the fact that Sainz got penalised is utterly, utterly ludicrous. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, same. I just... sometimes in sport, you do just get decisions that make you question whether you understand the rules. You're like, I'm pretty sure I'm across this stuff, and then that kind of thing happens. You're like, oh, maybe I'm just not. Then maybe I'm just not. Like I could not, for the life of me, explain what the rationale is there.
But you watch it and you explain it. So you watch. Let's say you watch that with someone who's never seen Formula One before, and you go, tell me who do you penalise here? No one's going to be it.
No. I mean, if you're just looking for just a sort of common sense approach to that, you're going nowhere near penalising Carlos Sainz. Nowhere near it. It's it's ludicrous. And you sort of, I hope that the FIA have a look at that and think this makes us look a bit stupid.
Yeah, there's got to be somebody sensible that goes, sorry, yes, hands up, made a mistake, and we'll rescind that, erase that, because there's no way on the grounds of sort of common sense, reality, anything, that he should have a penalty. But there we go.
But I think if you ask every single driver, should that be a penalty for Sainz, I think they would all say no. I think, And if that is true, then you obviously are making the wrong decision.
Yeah, he was pretty angry with the stewards.
Anything else being discussed this morning? So the morning after the race. Any whispers?
I've got a personal highlight from the weekend, which we haven't got into yet.
Oh yes, please.
Yeah, so when you're at the circuit, it was actually cool because you stay in Amsterdam, you get a train in each day with Dutch fans in the morning, very drunk Dutch fans out in the evening. There seemed to be a game where people got off the train to have a quick wee at platforms to see if they could get back on the train before it pulled away. But anyway, that's not the highlight. I got on this. One guy did, one guy didn't. Much to the delight of his friends, who were all cheering and couldn't quite. But to be fair, the trains were every 5 minutes, so it didn't matter.
You get the wrong bit sort of caught in the door, would you?
Anyway, you get these little shuttles to and from, and I hop on a seat, and a lady sits next to me, and she goes, "Oh, hello. Are you Matt from the Inside Track?"
Oh,
I'm like,
come on.
I'm like, yes, I am. She goes, "I love the podcast.
Yes.
Particularly enjoyed the Steve Knowles episode." Anyway, I met a fan in the wild, a Dutch fan called Amanda. Shout out to Amanda. Big fan of the podcast. No word of a lie.
Sorry. Just to quickly go back there. She particularly enjoyed the episode that I wasn't involved in.
Yeah, she said she's not as big a fan of yours, but I didn't want to go into that bit. Is that awkward? Yeah, she definitely has a favourite host, which is, I don't know.
Yeah, well, that's clear. Yeah. Okay, but still, nice to meet a fan in the wild. All right, that I think is the Netherlands in the rearview mirror. Next stop, of course, as mentioned, Italy. But first, the small matter of our predictions, and that's coming up next. Right. Let's take a look at our predictions. A reminder, it is 1 point for each driver on the podium that we correctly call, 6 points on offer if we absolutely nail the 1, 2, 3, which we have never done. We're competing over the season against you, the audience, and an artificial intelligence whose victory would sort of foreshadow the end of humanity. You might call them, and I'm annoyed that it's taken us 15 races to get to this pun, our Grand Predictions. Just have one more go on that. Our Grand Predictions.
Yeah, you had me first time round.
Yeah, yeah. But imagine taking that long to get there.
Better late than never.
Very, yeah, is it? So you had a healthy 4 point lead going into Spa, Matt. Can you remember your predictions?
Yes, I went for Lando Norris first, Oscar Piastri second, Max Verstappen third. Wasn't very audacious, but looked sensible enough.
Yeah, so that gets you 2 points. I went Norris, Verstappen, Piastri, so 2 points for me as well, although the connoisseurs will note that my prediction is slightly better than yours because I did get one place correct.
The statisticians will notice it makes absolutely no difference.
They will notice that, but I think the purist will look at mine and say, yes, that is a marginally better 2 points than your 2 points.
So also, I need to do a count back for how many times you've made this excuse. I think maybe if there were points for that, you'd be doing a lot better.
I think I say it every week. I don't remember there being a week when I've said you were better, even though there clearly have been weeks where you were. The AI predicted Piastri, Norris, Verstappen, giving it 2 points as well. And our audience member selected at random is Fuel to the Max on Instagram, who went for Norris, Piastri, Verstappen. So they get 2 points as well. So no real change on the leaderboard. Matt still 4 points clear on 31. Me trailing on 27. But with those little bonus, I guess it's 27 asterisk really of some really solid 2 pointers in there. The AI on 25 and the audience still languishing, struggling back on 23. If you want to play your part in trying to lift the audience off the foot of the table, you can submit your predictions via Instagram. Look for our stories on @theinsidetrack_podcast, or pop one on a YouTube comment under this feed. Now, I've been away from the pod for 3 weeks, so we haven't had a chance to chat about Cadillac's plans. They are bringing in Valtteri Bottas and Sergio Perez to race next year. My friend, this is mean but funny. My friend texted me and said, "Can a team have 2 number 2 drivers?" Big up, Jonathan. So, I mean, Perez, I think, will absolutely feel that he has something to prove, and I think he's described it as unfinished business. Now, whether it's such an unknown, really, whether he'll be able to make an impact in this car, I mean, God knows, really.
So it's a very sensible signing. Perez is one of the only drivers whose stock has risen by not driving in a car. So bizarrely, by not driving for Red Bull, everyone thinks of him as better because everyone's like, "Oh, okay, I see what was happening with you." So that's quite a weird thing. So he's had this deal done. Yeah. It is a difficult car to drive. So, I mean, there's just a sensible thing. Cadillac have signed Bottas, Perez, two very experienced drivers who will know exactly how to help build up a team, a car. Technical feedback from them is excellent. The only thing I would say is I just cannot see Cadillac doing anything next season. They are starting from scratch. It's going to be very, very hard for them to be competitive. But it's so sensible. There's no point in them having a young driver, a rising star, two established names who can really help build something there. And there'll be some tough weekends.
Car as well, I think.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't know Perez enough about his technical feedback, but people have always talked very, very positively about Bottas and what he's able to bring. It's great to see them back. They are two characters. Bottas, you see him around at the grid every weekend around the paddock. He's a great character. Perez is very feisty. I think together it'd be fun.
I think Bottas is quite a good signing just from a kind of entertainment point of view. If you're Cadillac and you're thinking, okay, we want to get a bit of attention on the team, bit of buzz, we kind of know that we're probably going to struggle for the first season, 2 seasons, however long. That's just inevitable. So have someone who's kind of giving you a little something, which Bottas absolutely will. Like, people like him and are interested in him, so there will be some sort of fun attention on him, I think.
He seems to be universally liked, I think. Like, there's just an appeal to him. And has a fabulous haircut, moustache combo, superb sunglasses.
He's like you.
We're one and the same.
I'd love to see you with the mullet. I mean, obviously.
I'll work on it from now. See if I can get it for the end of the season.
What would a successful season for Cadillac look like? I would say if they get a single point, that would be good.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. They're building a team from scratch. That's hard to... I mean, when I spoke to some of the bosses in Miami, they had a couple of hundred staff. Other teams have 1,000 or whatever. They are starting from scratch. So anything that they can do is positive, points-wise. Will they do it? I mean, to score points to not be last, that would be an unbelievable success, I would suggest.
I've realised I should know this, but what's their racing pedigree like, Cadillac? Like, are they in IndyCar and things like that?
I should know that too. I don't know. Yes, I should know. I'm not so good on the US racing.
Finally found a gap in Majendie.
I just find it a bit boring. Is that bad to say? Maybe I'm going to alienate some fans. Just driving round in circles. There's no...
It is.
I mean, yeah.
Turgid crap is what it is.
So you've gone a bit stronger.
You're very welcome to say that. No, it's awful. But I just wonder if they've done it. In which case, that gives you at least some...
Yeah, I mean, they've got Graham Loudon has good experience, who's their team boss, a British guy. He has previous Formula One experience. They're recruiting some very good people, and they've got very good drivers. As for their overall pedigree, as motorsport-wise, I'm afraid I don't know.
Time now to turn our attention to this weekend's race in Monza, taking place on Sunday, the 7th. What are you going to be looking out for? I'm very excited to see Lando, quote-unquote, going for it.
Well, the thing is, we talk about this every single race, but it's going to be another McLaren track. It's going to be another race where they dominate, whether it's Lando, whether it's Oscar that wins, and then we talk about who's the third best. Will it be Ferrari in the mix? Will it be Red Bull in the mix? Mercedes, even Aston Martin have showed up points of late. But yeah, it does seem like it's going to be another McLaren show, as it might be for the rest of the season.
On Red Bull, what's the kind of feeling? I suppose it's in some ways a classic Red Bull weekend where stuff isn't going very well on a Friday, and somehow they find a way to do a lot better than anyone expected. So I guess that the sort of confidence will be quite high.
Yeah, there was a real positivity in the garage, in the hospitality bit, in that you felt the energy of a team lifted by it. This is going back to upgrades that were made in Spa, so these are all positive steps, and we saw a bit there. And then Hungary was, as we know, an absolutely abysmal race for them, but that was never going to be a good circuit. So we saw these upgrades. I know they had a bit of a tweak to the front wing specific for this race, going in the right direction. Monza, I think, will be a bit harder for them, personally, but I mean, it's just amazing what they can do, the development they can do in a weekend. They can turn up on Friday and be bang average at points, and yet this team work relentlessly to find a balance, to find something that works, and then Max will, could put the car on pole in qualifying. It's ridiculous. So I sort of never say never with him, but I feel that Monza might be a bit more of a step back for them.
And then obviously Ferrari want to do well, not just because they've had such a terrible weekend, but because it's their track. And Hamilton starting 5 places back on the grid is a really, really poor start. It's quite hard to see how they do anything.
Well, it's got all the makings of Hamilton doing one of those surges through, this is my heart rather than head, through the field, adversity, and suddenly comes good, which we've seen him do this season. I actually do think Charles Leclerc will be... Charles Leclerc's one lap pace is so good. He's maybe, well, certainly one of them sometimes referred to as the best sort of one lap driver on the grid. If he can pull off one of those stormy laps, which we've seen in Monza, anything's possible. He loves racing there, suits in that circuit. Is it heart, I'm thinking, with him, that he might be in the mix? Well, I guess we'll see.
I know people always say he's the best sort of one lap racer, but realistically, it's Verstappen.
Yeah, it's funny people say that, because I think, the laps that he's pulled off, we've already seen, Imola, Suzuka, things like that this season didn't seem possible. Things that just do not seem, but then we've seen Charles do that as well. So anyway, if those two can get a 1-2 and put the McLarens down the order, that makes for fun at the start of the race.
Let's do our predictions then. Matt, 4-point lead, blah, blah, blah. Audience struggling at the root of the table. Who are you going for? Who's your 1, 2, 3 for Italy?
So, okay, 1 and 2 are a little bit predictable, but I'm going to go Norris, Piastri, Leclerc.
Slightly different from me. I think that, do you know what I think's happened here? We both so desperately want Lando to do well, to kind of keep the race alive. So I've gone Lando, then Oscar, and then I've got Max just because I whenever I leave Verstappen off the podium and then he gets on the podium, I just feel like such an idiot. I'm like, why would you rule him out? So I'm going Lando, Oscar, Max. The AI has gone, I don't think this is right, but fair play AI. Same drivers, but Max, Oscar, Lando. That would be a hell of a drive.
Where's that come? If AI should be working on all sensibilities and results. Yeah, but anyway.
I've got no idea what the AI is working on, to be honest. A reminder, we will be selecting a listener prediction to represent you, the audience. Not too late, so if you want to throw your hat into that particular ring, do so on our Instagram stories or YouTube comments. That is our Italy preview. Oh, do you know what? Just suddenly thought, should have done this ages ago, but Alex Albon's got to get a mention for this weekend, doesn't he?
Absolutely brilliant from him. Absolutely brilliant. Like, I don't know how he did it with the Williams, because I thought the Williams was tailing off and wasn't going to be competitive, but just, he's so good. He's so good at keeping out of danger, at keeping out of the mischief and getting himself in the right positions. I thought that was an amazing drive. Yes, how we didn't mention that. It was one of the best drives of the weekend, but there was so much that happened in the race, so much dramas and ding-dongs that kind of we forgot about him, in contrast to his teammate who didn't have such a good day.
No, I know. I for me, I mean, it's tight between him and Hadjar, but they were my two favourite. They were my two favourite drives, and I'd probably go Albon actually.
Oh, but I loved Hadjar. Did you see his trophy celebration as well? There's this guy who works in the paddock during the course of the weekend, making these beautiful sort of pottery-esque kind of trophies. This guy sat in his chair all weekend. I don't know if that was one of the ones he's designing. Hadjar then sits with the team, plonks it down maybe a little bit aggressively on the solid ground, and it just snaps the stem of it, and he's just holding, and he looks a bit shocked, but then just decides to embrace it and the hilarity of it. So this poor old chap, I'm sure, is now designing another trophy to replace it for his third place.
Yeah, I would like to get an immediate sort of reaction cam on the guy as that happens. It's just like, oh,
but I mean, if you're going to make a trophy,
grateful little so and so.
If you make a trophy like that, that's quite breakable when these, dare I say, idiots in the moment of celebration are just going all mad for it. But to be fair, I've watched the video and he doesn't plonk it down too aggressively. But there it goes anyway.
Okay, that is us done then. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok or YouTube by searching for Inside Track Podcast or looking down at the show notes. We'll be back early next week to review everything that went down in Italy and provide more exclusive insider insight from Team Red Bull. The Inside Track is funded and made by BBC Studios, a commercial company that is wholly owned by the BBC. It's produced and edited by John Weeks. Georgina Revel is social media and video editor, and James Cook is the executive producer.